On Twitter, we asked, who holds the greatest responsibility for addressing cyber risks? The choices, of course, were governments, tech companies, global institutions, or all of them equally. Let's take a look and see how people voted. Wow. Marina, I'd love to turn to you first. What are your reactions to these results?
I would have answered governments, because even if we talk about multi-stakeholder approach, somebody has to be in the driving seat and somebody has to be responsible. And for centuries, forever, governments have been responsible for the security questions. Cybersecurity is different, that it has multi-stakeholders also, they have to be included. But I still think that the central role belongs to governments, because they adopt laws, they interpret international law, they talk about, they work in accordance with political norms. So the central role should stay with governments, but all the other stakeholders should also have their important inputs.
Marietje, what do you see as the right balance?
Well, I agree with Marina. I think we have to be careful not to normalize the fact that so much power lies with the private sector here. At the end of the day, that's not good for democracy. It's not good for accountability. Of course, there are a number of companies that are very happy to take responsibility, that are forthcoming and engaging in cooperation with governments, but it's not necessarily the norm in that sense. And so I agree with Marina that I think that governments have a key role to play and also have a key responsibility. It's not only a matter of choice and, are they up for it? It's also a constitutional responsibility. For example, if you think about the monopoly on the use of force, which through this cyber arms race that we previously talked about, and through the fact that private companies build so much critical infrastructure, defend critical infrastructure, are also building offensive capabilities. This kind of erosion of the role of democratic states is already visible, and I think we have to be realistic about it. And when there is public-private cooperation, that there's at least clarity about which role each of the sides plays. So what is a healthy role for the private sector versus what is the healthy role for democratic governments, and to build from there. And I believe that the debate on how to best cooperate could also benefit from that kind of clarity, so that everybody's role and responsibility at the end of the day is clear. Also, when things don't go so well, it's helpful to then know what is the chain of communication, what is the chain of responsibility, and also vis-a-vis the public, the chain of accountability in that sense.
Tom, what are your thoughts on what you've just heard from Marietje and Marina?
You may be surprised to learn that I agree completely with what with both Marietje and Marina just said. There are core responsibilities that have to remain governmental responsibilities. What we're trying to do is encourage governments to seize some of that responsibility, and to do that in a multi-stakeholder way, which means that you listen to and you include the private sector, because in this space in particular, getting to the right solutions requires an understanding of the technology, an understanding of cyberspace. And it also requires those of us in the private sector to act responsibly, to understand our social responsibility, and to engage productively with government. But at the end of the day, these rules about what are going to be the rules that govern nation state conduct in cyberspace, that has to be a governmental responsibility. We just want to help government make sure that we get it right, and that government engage in these discussions towards finding solutions, which right now we're encouraged that there is progress being made, but we need to make more progress more quickly.